Coming in hot with a clear rule up front, this ranking was built on 3 real and relevant variables that matter when you talk about budget assault rifles famous in the United States: affordability, reliability, and performance. Each variable receives a score from 1 to 3 stars, and the sum produces a clear, comparable score that cuts through marketing and myths. That scoring system guarantees a fair and revealing comparison, and yes, we kept it brutally honest. Stay with me, because the race is tighter than you think, and the number 1 spot will surprise even veteran shooters. Coming in at number 6 is the Romanian WASR-10, a civilian AK pattern rifle that has become a familiar sight at US gun shows and on budget shooter forums since the 1990s and 2000s. Chambered in 7.62 W39, the WASR typically ships with a stamped receiver, a 16.3-inch barrel in many configurations, a standard 30-round detachable magazine, and an unloaded weight generally hovering between roughly 3 and 4 kilograms depending on furniture. For affordability, it receives 2 stars, because while it is inexpensive, it's not always the cheapest option on the market. Reliability here earns 2 stars, because well-maintained WASR-10s run for thousands of rounds without exotic maintenance. Yet headspace and QC quirks do appear more often than with factory-new US rifles. Performance receives 1 star since the ballistics of 7.62-39 and the basic sighting. Systems limit precision beyond 150 to 200 meters, compared with modern AR platforms. Used in imported examples, historically trade around $500 to $700 US, though prices spike with market cycles and import pauses. In practical terms, the WASR is known for simple mechanics and vast aftermarket support in the States. Owners commonly replace the stock gas tube, add optics mounts, or swap furniture to tune ergonomics. On accuracy, stock WASR-10s tend to group in the low to mid-minute of angle region at typical defensive ranges when using quality ammunition, but that performance is more good enough than match grade. For many buyers, the platform's reliability when serviced and its parts availability are the real selling points. The 2, 2, and 1 sum to 5 stars overall, slotting the WASR-10 at number 6 and reminding us that recognizability does not always equal top-tier performance. Coming in at number 5 is the Century Arms C39V2, a US market AK-style rifle introduced in the 2010s that aimed to modernize the classic Kalashnikov design for American buyers. The C39V2 is often configured with polymer furniture, a heavier barrel profile for improved heat management, a stamped or reinforced trunnion depending on the run, and standard AK magazines with familiar 30-round capacities. In the field, it weighs in the neighborhood of 4 kilograms unloaded, and typically features a 16-inch-ish barrel length in commercial configurations. Street pricing for complete C39V2 rifles commonly sat in the $500 to $800 band, depending on retailer and options. What sets this model apart is the intention to offer cleaner factory finishes and slightly tighter tolerances than older surplus builds, which helps with consistency shot to shot and with the longevity of parts under sustained fire. Owners report that with basic running in and typical maintenance, the C39V2 cycles reliably through dirt and neglect better than many import-era rifles. But geometry and sight picture still reflect AK lineage rather than modern ergonomic ideals. For affordability, it receives 2 stars, because it is competitively priced, but not the absolute bargain. Reliability gets 2 stars as improvements in heat treatment, and QC make it a step up for out-of-the-box dependability, though it remains an AK at heart. Performance earns 1 star for the stock configuration, because ergonomics and point-of-aim consistency still trail modern AR geometry. But again, simple upgrades like a better barrel or optics can alter that picture. The 2, 2, and 1 combine into 5 stars, to place the C39V2 firmly in the budget middle. Coming in at number 4 is the PSA PA-15 from Palmetto State Armory, a budget AR-15 family entry that helped democratize the AR platform in the United States by offering complete rifles at price points that were once impossible. Chambered in 5.56 NATO with standard 30-round magazines, many PA-15 variants retail with a roughly 16-inch barrel, a carbine or mid-length gas system depending on the specific SKU, and an unloaded weight around 3 to 3.5 kilograms. Promotional pricing and seasonal sales regularly pushed complete PA-15 builds into the $400 to $700 range, which is what made them headline-grabbing bargains. In service, these rifles show the classic AR advantages: modularity, easy optics mounting on the flat-top Picatinny rail, and an enormous aftermarket for triggers, barrels, and stocks. Where they fall short is that baseline barrels and triggers on the cheapest builds often measure as serviceable rather than precision-oriented, with stock accuracy commonly in the 2 to 4 MOA band depending on ammo and shooter. That said, the whole point of the PA-15 ecosystem is that for a modest investment, you can upgrade a basic rifle into a much more accurate and pleasant shooting platform. Affordability earns 3 stars, because PSA-approved factory ARs could be produced very cheaply. Reliability gets 2 stars, because some entry-level components are uneven, but many PA-15s run thousands of rounds fine. Performance receives 1 star in strict stock terms because of cheap barrels and triggers, though upgrade potential is enormous. The 3, 2, and 1 add to 6 stars and make the PA-15 a transformative entry. Coming in at number 3 is the Smith & Wesson M&P15 Sport II, a rifle that became a common sight at ranges and home defense setups across the US, thanks to its balance of factory support and user-friendly features. Chambered in 5.56 NATO, the Sport II traditionally features a 16-inch barrel, a carbine-length gas system on many builds, standard 30-round capacity mags, and a polymer handguard in base models. Typical retail pricing has ranged from roughly $600 to $900, depending on sales and whether the rifle included upgraded furniture or optics. An unloaded weight usually sits near 3 kilograms. In controlled testing, the Sport II frequently posts consistent groups that are competitive for defensive and recreational shooting. Think mid-single to low double-digit inches at 100 yards with decent ammo, which translates in shooter terms to reliable, practical accuracy. For shooters who want out-of-the-box dependability without immediate upgrades, the Sport II is a solid pick. Affordability receives 2 stars because it is budget-friendly but not the absolute lowest price. Reliability scores 3 stars due to consistent out-of-the-box function reported by users and range tests. Performance receives 2 stars because the platform delivers practical accuracy and responds well to modest upgrades. The 2, 3, and 2 total 7 stars and earn the M&P15 Sport II the bronze position. Coming in at number 2 is the Ruger AR-15. Ruger's factory AR that entered the market with the promise of competitive pricing and solid engineering. The AR-15 is chambered in 5.56 NATO, usually ships with a 16-inch barrel in commercial versions, flat-top optics rails, and Ruger-branded magazines. Unloaded weight commonly sits between 3 and 3.5 kilograms. Retail pricing generally clustered between $500 and $800 in recent years, and Ruger leaned into dependable sourcing and conservative specs rather than flashy extras. In service, the AR-15 is known for out-of-the-box shotability. Many reviewers and owners report several thousand rounds without major service when using typical quality ammunition, making it a trustworthy platform for new owners. Stock accuracy commonly sits in the practical range for defensive and training uses, and while it is not match grade, it is more than capable for most shooters. Affordability earns 3 stars because Ruger targeted the low to mid-price tier. Reliability also scores 3 stars due to factory testing and parts sourcing. Performance receives 2 stars because, while accurate enough for practical engagements, it benefits predictably from barrel and trigger upgrades. The 3, 3, and 2 add up to 8 stars. Before we reveal the top rifle, do me a quick favor and hit the like button if you are enjoying this breakdown. Subscribe to the channel for more rankings like this. And leave a comment telling us whether you agree with our 3-variable evaluation or would change the weight of any category. Your support helps us make better videos, and your feedback might even change next week's list. Coming in at number 1 is the Colt AR-15 6920, a carbine that has become one of the most recognized AR models in the United States thanks to its practical M4-inspired features, consistent factory build quality, and prevalence in reviews and range tests. The 6920 is chambered in 5.56 NATO, typically configured with a 16-inch barrel and a forged upper and lower receiver set, features M4 feed ramps for reliable magazine to chamber feeding, and includes a flat-top Picatinny rail for optics. Many 6920s use a 1.9-inch twist rate which balances stability for common 55 to 62 grain bullets. And the rifle's unloaded weight often sits around 3 to 3.5 kilograms depending on stock and accessories. Historically, the Colt 6920 earned praise from reviewers for its out-of-the-box reliability under varied conditions and for maintaining the trusted ergonomics of the AR family. Used Sporter Class 6920 examples frequently fall into budget-friendly price bands during sales or on the secondary market, which is a big part of why it tops this list. In practical accuracy, test stock 6920s commonly produce consistent groups that are more than adequate for defensive and sport shooting without immediate upgrades, and the platform's compatibility with the vast AR aftermarket means accuracy. And handling can be improved easily with a better barrel or trigger. For affordability, the 6920 receives 3 stars, because while brand new Colts can command a premium, many used or Sporter Class examples are accessible. Reliability also earns 3 stars because forged construction and Colt standards deliver consistent function. Performance receives 3 stars because geometry, barrel profile, and parts foundation support practical accuracy and predictable handling that outperform many low-cost competitors. The perfect 3, 3, and 3 sum to 9 stars total, crowning the Colt AR-15 6920 as the rifle that best balances affordability, dependability, and real-world performance among rifles famous in the United States. Did we get the order right? Would you swap any model or change how we weight affordability versus performance? Tell us which rifle you would like to see featured next and what variables you would score it on, because your feedback shapes the next list and keeps the discussion real.